All right, so we stay with this particular story now and speak to Soweto Museum's Chief Curator, Prince Dube, who joins us live now. Prince, thank you so much for your time. I mean, let's talk about this research project. Where do you begin?
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening to your viewers.
Hi, Mr. Dube, I'm not sure if you heard me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Where do you begin?
Yeah. The first part of our research was to find information on Mbuyisa Makhubu as a person and his story while he was here in South Africa before he left for Botswana. Then the second part will be looking at his life in exile. Since he left in August 1976, he went to Botswana where he stayed for 2 years, and then left Botswana for Nigeria, where he stayed for almost 1 year, and then he disappeared. So the first part, it has been done. We're now looking at doing the second part, where we will be going into exile, following his footsteps.
And why is it important to preserve this particular part of our history, especially when you look at the uncertainties around his destiny? And of course, you know, you also see in some instances, some of these stories fall through the cracks.
Over and above the stories that emerged of him being found in Canada, we as the museum, the Hector Picturescent Museum, have a job to find information on all the people that took part in the uprising. So Mbuyisa, I will say, is the first for me, since he appeared on that iconic photograph by Sam Zima. But when you get into the museum, there's very little that is said or that you will find about him inside the museum. So it is our responsibility as curators to get information on all objects that are in the museum. It will be useless for us to exhibit something such as Mbuyisa's photograph, but do not have a full story around him as a person. Yes.
Mr.
So when a visitor gets into the museum, yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. You can finish your thought.
When a visitor gets into the museum, they want to get an authentic story. They do not want to get what they can read from the internet. So it is our responsibility then as curators that we get that authentic story and then showcase or exhibit for our viewers.
And that was going to be my next question, because you say that you want to follow, his footsteps, his trail, to just, bring to us, those who are, watching and those who are interested in the story, the true reflection of it. When you talk about the process that is about to follow now, how difficult is it likely to be, especially given some of the uncertainties as to, as we've seen over the years in different reports, whether, you're not sure if it was him there or he was there and all of that?
It's going to be difficult, but at the same time, it should be easy. We are not the first museum to conduct a research of this kind, so we will just refer to what other museums did before. And the critical part is for us to close that picture or that story, to confirm the story. If it's him, it should be confirmed. If it's not him, we should also be in a position to say it's not him. So as I said earlier, as a museum, we only exhibit what is authentic.
And it's also important for his family as well. I mean, I was listening to his sister. It's important for the family to also get some kind of closure in order to be able to put finality to his story.
Definitely. The family currently, they are traumatized by the story that it doesn't have an end. At least if they know where the grave is or where the body, his body is currently. Even if it's not him, they say as long as they have closure on the story, they would be happy about that.
Mr. Dube, let's talk about, whether or not even post his story, are you looking then at maybe also, conducting further research into, others at the time who would have been involved and maybe their stories aren't being told as well?
Yes, ma'am. I'll make an example. The uprising was started by 4 women, but we hardly know their names. And if you ask people who will say they have done research on the June 16 student uprising, but sometimes they get shocked that the whole thing was started by those 4 women. And our next then will be to find those who were those 4 female students who started the uprising just before the 16th of June.
And of course, as you say, it's important, for accuracy and for a lot of young people to also reflect on a day like the 16th of June, for example, in the correct sense. But let's then, a final question to you. When you look at, June 16th over the years, a number of people also talk about the day having meaning still, but others say that it continues maybe for them to lose meaning, but others say that there's still quite a lot to mark, still quite a lot to talk about, especially where this day is concerned. Let's talk about your reflections of youth, the 16th of June, particularly in the context of 2024.
June 16, 1976, the students' uprising was a sad incident that happened in our history. We do not celebrate it, we commemorate it. It's just like Easter, where we commemorate the death of the Christian leader. We are also expecting the people that they will mourn on that particular day and remember that children, such as Hector Peterson was 12 years old and was shot and killed by an adult. So there is no need for us to celebrate that. We have to commemorate and cry if we have to cry when we remember what happened on that particular day. So as we are saying, in 2024, that's what we were also expecting. That's why we also did this project on Mbuyisa Makhubu. And if you were there, you could see that people were still shedding tears when they heard the story of Mbuyisa Makhubu.
It's quite a powerful story, Mr. Dube, especially when you think about just that photograph, the power of the story that it tells. And, one, of course, wants to know the finality of this particular story. So thank you so much, for sharing this research with us, and really wish you all the best. And hopefully we get to speak then when you have more details on it. Do appreciate your time. That was Soweto Museum's Chief Curator, Prince Dube. And of course, this is a very important story when you think of South Africa's history, the story of Mbuyisa Makhubu.